We are over 90 degrees and it is too hot to paint.
Okay, that was what I was expecting. We're gonna have to fair that whole section now. That's probably likely a week for us of additional labor now.
After 8 years of the nomadic life, involving crossing oceans in a 34-foot Sabre, refitting an aluminum boat, and then taking that to the Arctic Circle, we're back at it again with a brand new build. This is Matt and I'm Jessica. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and join us every week as we start our newest project of building a 42-foot catamaran from the ground up. I feel like today is one of those days I will be losing about 5 pounds just in water weight from sweating. We have a heat wave rolling through Maryland right now, and the temperatures we're getting today are similar to what we get in the hottest months of July and August. So down like under the deck, it's I think 89 degrees right now, and up on deck where I'm working it's 93. So I am just doing some light sanding today, so I'm going to forego my Tyvek because if I get a little dusty, I'd rather not be suffocating while I do my work. I'm back down in the forward bunk right now, ready to get our second coat of epoxy bilge paint in there. So I'm just very lightly going over it with 220 grit sandpaper, and then I will be able to roll on that second coat, and we'll see if it needs a third. And the sweat is dripping down already. But I just need to give the area a vacuuming, and I'll have to double check to see if it needs another acetone wipe, but then I can get onto painting the second coat. So while we're sitting and working through this heat to actually like really see what it's going to look like when it's done and not have like any of the patchiness, because there's only one coat on there right now. Good thing I read the instructions. Somehow, in May, we are over 90 degrees and it is too hot to paint. And although it is, you know, like 2 or 3 degrees warmer, I still don't want to take the chances. Because if you see my little meltdown in here, I'm not going to let it go to waste because it was 3 degrees too hot. So tomorrow's going to be a little bit cooler. Got plenty of other things to work on. I will come back to it. In the next few days, Matt and I are going to be taking a very important and exciting trip, so you'll have to make sure to follow us on Instagram as we document our journey. But this means that we're going to be away from our secure internet network and living our lives through various Wi-Fis for about 10 days. We're not worried though, because all of our devices have us covered through NordVPN. Nord is a virtual private network which encrypts all of the data sent between our computer and the internet. And with our subscription to Nord, we get access to their threat protection, which is the next step in digital security. You can have total peace of mind while surfing the web, since it blocks intrusive ads on the spot, helps identify malware-ridden files, and keeps you from landing on malicious sites. So while we're at our currently undisclosed location of here, 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 or here, we're covered. Long layovers in the airport, we're covered. Nord is the fastest VPN out there, which we can attest to after using for a few months now, and can cover you on 6 devices on every major platform. So make sure to check it out for yourself today with their risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. And get their exclusive offer of 61% off by clicking on nordvpn.com/mjsailing, which we also have listed in our description box below. A few weeks ago, you'll remember that Matt was busy working on our engine beds and even drilling a trial hole for where our stern tube will go. We needed the weather to warm up more before we could move on to our next projects, but now it finally has. Our next step, after Matt had built up the stringers for the engine mount to rest on, was to fill the hollow space of those stringers. This is to strengthen the area, and the plan was for us to use 6-pound foam, the same density as the rest of our bulkheads and webbing. For this project, we're using Total Boat's polyurethane flotation foam and needed temperatures to be in the mid-70s for it to work most effectively. It comes in 2 parts, mixed together at a 1-to-1 ratio. Measuring out part A and B in separate containers, we didn't know how quickly it would react and wanted to give ourselves as much time as possible to work with it.
Okay, transfer that over. If you hold that, have that ready for me. And you
Ready?
Right.
Ready.
Spreading it along the side of our hull, we waited for the reaction to happen, thinking it might be instantaneous. It turns out the work time was a few minutes, and as the mixture expanded, Matt would try to evenly spread it across the space.
Ooh, that does create some heat.
The exothermic reaction from the mixture did put out a lot of heat, up to 110 degrees, so we were also keeping an eye on the temperature of the hull.
A little warm.
Oh yeah.
After multiple rounds of mixing, the foam had overflowed the area, and we let it sit to harden before Matt would go back and trim it down to size.
Is this some kind of miracle we didn't see? Even if we're probably getting burned by this first degree, getting pronounced and stuck in the underground. I can't help but falling into settle down. I can tell by the look in your eyes, you're not ready to go. I'm lost with my head in the clouds, so I don't really know. Standing by the edge, not looking down, 'cause I want you to know. Waiting for the interstellar light. Don't need a reason to show.
Well, I now have it filled basically to the top, but what I've done is I've actually dug back down and created little valleys. And what we'll end up doing is these pieces, our final piece of fiberglass goes on top, of foam core fiberglass goes on top here. I'll bond these into place, and then if you can see it creates a crack on the side. What I'm gonna do is this stuff expands. When it expands with a lot of force. So I'm gonna glass those into position. I'll bond them first to this top layer here, and then I'll glass them actually into place on the side, but leave a gap on the high point up here. And on the high point back there, and high point right here. And what that will allow me to do then is I should be able to pour in, once I get them all glassed into place, I should be able to pour in some more of the expanding foam, and that's going to actually bond it, A, to this foam, and B, it's going to fill in any of that void, any of the area that I have left. So again, strategically kind of dug little valleys in here. So right when I should be able to pour here, and it'll run into this area, and then expand back up and bond the remaining part of that board into place. Once that's done, then I can do the final shaping and then do the 12 layers of fiberglass that goes on over the top of this. But that's, I few weeks from now.
Oh, baby.
Or here. That's it.
You alright, huh?
Alright. Fill a couple more holes, make sure getting everything filled.
Yeah. Let's see. It's coming in there.
Oh, good. I'm gonna magic snakes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too.
And this was all we could do on the project until it was time to return to glass.
Alright, all the voids have been filled. Some a little extra. And now we just have to wait for it to fully harden.
Today is one of those days that Matt and I should be so productive on the catamaran because it is like the perfect temperature of around 70 degrees. But we just can't find the motivation to get working because things are just so chaotic for us right now, just generally in the yard. We have a few days left on the Viking, which is behind me here, kind of our winter home that partially belongs to the marina owner. He lets us stay on it instead of our 31-foot pacemaker, which is like right in the way of the channels, like waves and wakes and winter storms. But now that the winter storms are over, it's time to get back on that. So we're supposed to be cleaning and moving and doing all these last minute projects, but can't find like the energy to get doing it today. And part of that reason too is because it is the Naval Academy's graduation, and so there's something really cool that happens here every year on that day. And then there are other simple and random distractions because our friend and boat neighbor Tucker just got a griddle in today. So of course we had to come check out the griddle and Matt helped set it up. Gonna have some fun on that this summer.
Yeah.
Gonna have fun with it tonight.
Did you tell them it was the payment for watching Kitty?
Oh yeah. And part of the reason that we're so excited and invested in this grill is because we're hoping to get a ton of use out of it too. It's Tucker's payment for watching Georgie all the times we're gone. So we figured as long as we're gonna do something nice for him, we're gonna do something nice for ourselves too. Let's go to the beach. Fun things are happening. So every year for the Naval Academy graduation, which happens, I think usually the last week of May, they have the Blue Angels come fly and do a show. So it's this huge thing where like hundreds of boats will go out onto the Chesapeake Bay surrounding Annapolis and kind of anchor out and watch the show. We actually had an opportunity this morning to go. We were invited on Tucker's dad's boat, Mallard. But thinking that we're going to be super productive, we turned it down, kind of realized not that we shouldn't have, so we were going to head over to the beach here at the marina and watch the show. Yeah, Matt just found his sunnies. Lucky boy. But yeah, pretty much like every boat is out. It is quiet as heck in here because everybody is out there right now. That is Fat Albert going over our heads right now, so the Blue Angel should be right behind it. If you can make out those three big towers over my shoulder in the distance, that is where the Severn River connects to the Chesapeake. That's where Central Annapolis is and the Naval Academy. So most of the show is going to be going on back there, but hopefully as they're coming, because they'll do runs all the way up and down the bay, we'll get a few good sightings over here at Kentmorr. How freaking cool is that? I'm hoping so. I don't know how much more action we'll be able to see from this far away, because if they come by again, it's probably going to be when they're leaving. So I think Matt and I are going to get back to work and save some of our free time for this evening to watch the sunset over the bay, because that is always a spectacular view from the spot. So back to work, busy days, lots of exciting things to come. With the weather now warm enough to glass in any area we want, one spot we'd been holding off on since last fall is bonding the sleeve of the transom to the cockpit floor. Not as complicated as a lot of our other transverse glassings from the year before, Matt was able to easily take this project on himself, while I kept myself busy with sanding and painting.
This seam along here is really not structural. This whole face has adhesive in it, and that is acting as a really large fiberglass flange against this bulkhead, so really non-issue there. So I only put one layer of glass along this little edge, and the reason why I put glass in anyway, instead of just filling it in, is in case there is even the slightest bit of movement here, I don't want the gel coat that's going to get applied here to crack eventually. So that glass is going to give some structure and give some strength there. So when we do eventually gel coat this and finish off the surface, we can be sailing in big seas and not look back and see a crack forming along this little area here from any movement. Just a precautionary type of thing, but I figured one layer of glass wasn't going to hurt us.
Time for our favorite foam mixing.
Yep. Well, last night I said that I had glassed in this area because we're going to eventually be ferrying that. Part of the reason for that as well was to make this back area watertight. Right now there's the bulkhead that was originally in there. There's another piece of foam that has been adhered in this area, kind of holding this. This is just a cosmetic skirt basically that goes down here.
It's very thin.
Very thin glass.
Sits on top of the bulkhead.
Yep. It sits around the bulkhead, so on the outside, just again, a cosmetic edge to it. So you can see this little gap in between this bulkhead and this skirt, this edge. What we're going to do is we're going to pour in foam into this area and then fill up basically from here to here, hopefully with foam. How we're going to do that, it's a bit tricky. As you've seen before, the foam starts reacting very quickly, so you need to be able to pour it in rapidly. What I was thinking of doing is just using a trowel, setting that up on the edge, mixing the stuff, pouring on the trowel itself, and letting that drain down into this and then start expanding up. But hopefully there's enough open at the top that any of the pressure is going to push up instead of just out here. A little nervous. I've got so much fiberglass in my legs. Trouble getting hard.
Yeah.
So, you can see it already starting to expand out of here a little bit. Ooh, it's really growing. And then drip some on the furler.
Okay, that wasn't what I was expecting. I don't know if you can see this. So it did exactly what we didn't want it to do and distorted this area right in here. Yep, first pour. and already destroyed all of that work. And there's no, like this isn't removable, so we can try again at all. I thought the skirt was a little bit stronger, that it was going to be able to take that force, and that big of an opening at the top was going to be the release, so that was going to, all the pressure was going to raise up and come out. But there's still too much force pushing out. So now this whole skirt is really wrinkly. We're going to have to fair that whole section now. Sand it, fair it, and gel coat it. So that's one more thing added to the list. You know, in terms of days, that's probably, I would think that's at least a few days, most likely a week for us of additional labor now to get that corrected. Okay, so on to the next project, I guess.